Behind bars, the most violent prison riots ever recorded. Locked away from society, behind walls designed to break the human spirit, lies a world most of us will never see. But when the pressure inside those walls boils over, when desperation meets rage, prisons turn into war zones. Tonight we take you inside the deadliest, most violent prison riots ever caught on record. Blood spilled, buildings burned, governments shaken to their core. This isn't just about crime, it's about survival, power, and what happens when control is lost. Stay with us, because what you're about to witness will change the way you think about life behind bars forever. Setting the stage, why prison riots happen. To understand the chaos, we have to start with a simple question. Why do prison riots happen at all? Inside overcrowded blocks, tensions simmer. Men are stripped of freedom, packed like sardines, sometimes 4 to a cell built for 1. Add bad food, gangs controlling the yard, guards stretched thin, and every day becomes a spark waiting for flame. Prison riots are not random. They are explosions of built-up anger, fueled by injustice, fear, and survival. Sometimes it's a single fight over food. Other times, it's a carefully planned uprising meant to send a message to the outside world. The Attica Uprising, 1971. September 1971, Attica Correctional Facility, New York. What started as a fight between a few inmates turned into the bloodiest prison riot in American history. For 4 days, inmates held 42 guards hostage, demanding better living conditions, medical care, and basic human rights. Outside, the world watched in shock. Reporters, politicians, even the families of the hostages stood by as negotiations dragged on. But when the state decided negotiations were over, they sent in troopers armed with rifles and tear gas. What followed was a massacre. 39 people dead in a matter of minutes, both prisoners and guards alike. The images shocked America. Attica became a symbol of everything broken in the prison system. Carandiru Massacre, Brazil, 1992. Fast forward 2 decades. São Paulo, Brazil, 1992. Carandiru Penitentiary, an overcrowded nightmare holding over 7,000 inmates. On October 2nd, a simple dispute between 2 prisoners sparked chaos in Pavilion 9. Fists turned to blades, blades turned to blood. Guards called in the military police, but what happened next would stain Brazil's history forever. The police didn't negotiate, they opened fire. For nearly 30 minutes, bullets rained through the cell blocks. By the end, 111 prisoners lay dead. Not a single officer killed. Witnesses claimed men were executed after surrendering. It was less a riot and more a massacre. To this day, Carandiru remains one of the darkest examples of state violence behind prison walls. And yet, it wouldn't be the last time prisons descended into bloodshed. Attica, Carandiru, and still the world did not learn. In the years that followed, prisons across the globe would erupt in violence that makes even these tragedies look tame. Next, riots so brutal, so uncontrollable, that entire governments were forced to act. Ecuador's Guayaquil Prison Massacre, 2021. In September 2021, Ecuador woke up to the deadliest prison massacre in the nation's history. At Literal Penitentiary in Guayaquil, rival gangs turned the prison into a battlefield. This wasn't just a fight over respect, it was a war for control of the drug trade. Inside Literal, gangs linked to powerful cartels in Mexico fought for dominance. And the government, powerless to stop it. For hours, chaos reigned unchecked. Grenades exploded in dormitories. Inmates hacked at each other with machetes, some even beheaded. Guards were too outnumbered and too afraid to intervene. By the time the killing stopped, 118 inmates were dead, their bodies piled in hallways and courtyards. Families gathered outside the prison, crying, screaming, desperate for news. The massacre shocked the world. and revealed just how deep cartel influence had dug its claws into South America's prisons. El Salvador's Cecot, riot-proof or powder keg. El Salvador took a different path. After years of gang wars spilling from the streets into prisons, the government built something no one had seen before, a so-called mega prison, Cecot, designed to hold 40,000 inmates, the largest in the Americas, a fortress within a fortress. But here's the truth. Cecot was built to prevent riots, absolute control, no contact with the outside world, no chance for gangs to organize. But history teaches us a dangerous lesson. When you pack tens of thousands of men into concrete cages, you don't just build security, you build pressure. And pressure always finds a way to explode. They think they can control us forever, but even a beast in chains can bite. Many wonder, will Cecot truly end riots in El Salvador? Or is it just the calm before a storm, unlike anything we've seen before? Angola prison riot, USA. Closer to home, America has its own house of horrors. Angola, once a slave plantation, later one of the most notorious prisons in the U.S. In 1991, Angola erupted. A routine day turned into terror when inmates, armed with homemade weapons, attacked guards, took hostages, and demanded change. For hours, the prison teetered on collapse. Guards beaten, stabbed, and dragged through the halls. Inmates barricaded cell blocks. Outside, Louisiana officials scrambled, fearful the riot would spill into a full-blown breakout. By the end, 2 inmates were dead, dozens wounded, and a chilling message was carved into America's memory. Angola is a powder keg that never truly cools. The universal pattern of prison chaos. Different countries, different decades, but the pattern is always the same. Overcrowding, corruption, gangs, injustice. Prison riots aren't just explosions of violence. They're warning signs. Warning signs that something deep inside the system is broken. And when governments fail to listen, history repeats itself over and over and over again. But these aren't just stories of blood and violence. Hidden within each riot are tales of survival, of men who lived through the chaos and came out scarred but alive. What's it like to be trapped in a burning prison, surrounded by death? To face the choice, killed or be killed. Survivor stories. Attica. Ex-inmate. I was 23 when it happened. We were out in the yard, then the gate slammed shut. You could feel it. Something was about to break. The air was thick, like electricity before a storm. For men inside Attica, the riot wasn't just rebellion. It was desperation. Decades of neglect, rotting food, no medical care, no voice. For many, the uprising was their last chance to be seen as human. Ex-guard testimony. They tied my hands, put me on the ground. I thought I'd never see my kids again. You don't forget the sound, the chanting, the screaming. Every second I expected a blade at my throat. And then came the gunfire. Bullets tore through the smoke. Men fell, prisoners and guards alike. By the time silence returned, 39 lay dead. The survivors would carry those scars forever. Survivor stories. Carandiru ex-inmate testimony. When the police came, we raised our hands. We shouted that we surrender, but they didn't stop. They fired and fired. Men dropped beside me. Blood everywhere. The floor was slippery, like walking on ice. Survivors say it wasn't a riot. It was an execution. The official number was 111 dead, but many inside swore the toll was higher. Ex-inmate testimony. They called us animals, but even animals don't deserve to die like that. Survivor stories. Ecuador's Guayaquil Massacre. Ex-inmate testimony. Night fell and the screams started. You could hear them from the other block. They cut men, hacked them like meat. If you didn't fight, you died. If you fought, you died slower. For 24 hours, literal was hell on earth. Guards refused to enter. Families outside heard the explosions and prayed their loved ones would walk out alive. Ex-inmate testimony. I saw bodies stacked in the courtyard. I saw a boy, maybe 19, crying. For his mother, they slit his throat in front of me. I don't sleep anymore. I still hear his voice. Your Survivor stories. Angola Exum. Inmate testimony. We didn't plan it. Not like people think. It just happened. One fight, then another, and suddenly the whole place was burning. I remember holding a knife in my hand. My heart was pounding. I wasn't a killer, but in there, kill or be killed. Ex-guard testimony. They dragged me through the hall, beat me until I blacked out. I woke up with blood in my eyes, hearing gunshots. SWAT was storming in. I thought, this is it. This is the end. Few riots in America compare to the scale of Angola's chaos, but those who live through it know, inside those walls, every day is a riot waiting to happen. These are the stories that escape the smoke, but for every survivor who speaks, dozens lie buried, their voices lost forever, which raises the question, what happens after the blood dries? When governments sweep riots under the rug, who pays the price and who benefits?